This week we went to
Edinburgh,
Scotland. We started the day off with the flight from Nuremberg to Amsterdam to Edinburgh. Something you know about the Edinburgh airport is when you're following the signs to the car rental,
keep on going.
keep going. Don't quit.
It's a long haul.
It's like a marathon. Just keep going. People will be passing out Gatorades and bananas. From the car rental pickup, the first place we went to was all the way up to St. Andrew's Castle. We went and saw the cemetery.
Another beautiful cemetery.
Yeah,
I
pretty.
know that's weird, but
The walk from the cemetery or abbey to the castle was probably maybe 500 feet. Not far.
you'll see it. Yeah, you can pay to go in. Obviously, we've seen plenty of castles, so we chose not to pay and just get the pictures on the outside, but well worth it.
So we left Fife, Scotland, and we headed towards Stirling. Stirling is where the William Wallace Monument is, and I specifically wanted to stop there due to some of the Scottish history in my family connected to the Robert de Bruce, and then as well as the movie Braveheart, which I like.
Yeah, we got there a little bit late. They were getting ready to close, so we didn't get to go up in the tower. But a little bit of a hike, well worth it though.
Yeah, pretty heavy hike on that one. But worth it to see the statue of William Wallace, as well as seeing the open view of where the Battle of Stirling took place. Top of the monument, you can see the Stirling Bridge. Now, when you get down to the Stirling Bridge, there are several bridges near there, so make sure you find the right bridge, which we didn't the first time.
Yeah, the first time we started taking pictures, and we were like, "Are you sure this is a Stirling Bridge?"
Yeah, we both asked
Nope.
each other. We weren't sure.
There's a plaque outside this one, so you can't miss it.
Yeah. And it'll tell the history of it and why it was important. So we got to Stirling Castle pretty late again.
My fault.
Everything was closed, so we weren't able to get in, but we were able to see a couple statues outside, one of them being Robert de Bruce. And then also there was another cool one. It was dedicated to NCOs, officers of the Scottish regiments that have fought in all modern wars. Back to Edinburgh, or Edinburgh, as the natives say. But we did one more stop, which was these giant horse statues.
Called the Kelpies.
Through.
Yeah, where the Kelpies are, there's a nice park, like you can walk around. Kind of reminds you of the Netherlands a little bit. There's like a little river walkway, and I would highly suggest, you could probably spend hours there.
Yeah. So day 2 of our trip, we decided to stay in Edinburgh Old Town. With the Old Town, what we do recommend is the free tour done by
The Sandman.
Sandman.
Definitely recommend it.
Yeah. It's free, but there are, I'd say, some stipulations to it.
Yeah.
If you like the tour, you tip how much you think the tour is worth.
Yeah.
We got an excellent tour guide.
Jen. Highly recommend Jen if you see her there.
Shout out to Jen.
Yes.
Her knowledge unparalleled about Edinburgh, and then her, I'd say, geek cred. We love that about it. Well, I love that about her.
Yeah.
But Edinburgh was just so much history, and there was a story behind everything that we saw.
Yeah.
And both of us were uneducated on most of Edinburgh. So that's why we went the tour, and we didn't regret it.
No, not at all.
Now the first thing that we saw was I think it was Giles Cathedral. St. Giles, not Giles. Giles Cathedral. So right across from the St. Giles Cathedral, the next thing we saw was David Hume.
The locals will go up and rub the big toe of him for good luck. And now the big toe is basically like...
It's essentially gone from green to brass.
And while we were there taking a picture or a video of the statue, an old lady went up and rubbed the toe. You can tell she's definitely a local.
So we'll just show some just highlights of some of the things you'll see on the rest of the tour. You'll learn the mythos behind Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. His real name ended up being
Deacon Brodie.
Deacon Brodie.
Yeah, he was a locksmith, so when you would give him a key to make a key, he would always keep an extra copy.
Yeah.
Then take that key, break it in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
He was put on the committee to find out who was doing all the break-ins,
exactly.
Even though it was totally him.
So he was like the lead investigator for the break-ins, for his own break-ins.
Yeah.
So there's where you get that twist of by day doctor and by night he's Mr. Hyde. Last two things that we can remember from the tour, and there's a lot more than what we're telling you right now, but maybe this will at least entice you to take these tours. Last two things were the place called Last Drop, and then there was a restaurant that was named after a woman, Maggie Dickinson. It was named after a woman who was hung. They confirmed that she was killed by a doctor at least, so they got the actual official government confirmation, but ends up actually surviving it. So it's kind of interesting because a lot of the restaurants and bars are named after historical figures and things that happened in Edinburgh. And so the Last Drop has actually been there since like 1700s. It's that old. And that was where people got their last drop of whiskey before they were hung. But right next to it, you now have, what was it? Maggie Dickinson's restaurant right there. So it's pretty funny. And apparently she would be at the last drop, rooting them on that they can, if she could do it, they could survive. The Elephant Room was a cafe which had a view to the cemetery where J.K. Rowling got her names for the Harry Potter series. As well as near that cemetery, which is connected to the Greyfriars, is where the real-life Hogwarts was located as well. I know, right?
After the Old Town tour, we then got suckered into a bunch of other tours.
At least three or four more.
That's how those free tours get you. It's free, but then they offer their other tours that look just as cool.
I blame you, Jen.
Yeah, thanks, Jen, for taking all of our money. So we went to the Newtown tour, just to kind of get the difference between Old Town and Newtown. Most of the locals apparently do not like them, but if you're a tourist, you love when you're walking and you hear the bagpipes. So we were walking and the guy was so nice. Isaiah and Aaron went to go take a picture, and he asked Isaiah's favorite song, so we just said Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Made up one.
because he doesn't really have one. And the guy played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on the bagpipes.
Twinkle twinkle.
Isaiah.
Once you cross the road and you get into the Newtown part of Edinburgh,
which you can definitely tell is the Newtown.
Yeah, very different.
Definitely when you cross the bridge, you can definitely see yourself leaving Old Town into Newtown. And then our first stop on the Newtown tour was to the right was the hotel where J.K. Rowling had to lock herself in and to finish like the last 2 books.
yeah, she got so popular that was the only way she could finish it if she locked herself in the room.
Yeah, so she stayed in that hotel the whole time up at top floor penthouse. The Old Town part was becoming, I'd say, a stench fest, if you will. There wasn't really plumbing for the Old Town, and what they would do is they would just throw out their daily
Poop.
Yeah. Their daily excrement and let it run down the streets due to its natural decline, and it would go right into their lake.
Yeah.
But that had years and years of solidifying. Eventually the lake crusted over and it was a nasty smell. So that's what brought about the idea of a new town is let's revive Edinburgh because it's not what it once was. And we need something to move people back in because most people were moving down to London
Yeah.
or even Glasgow.
Unfortunately, there's really not that much history in Newtown.
Yeah.
So the Old Town tour, you get all this history, and then you take the Newtown tour, and it's kind of like,
Yeah.
okay.
So day 3 of Scotland and Edinburgh, we decide to cram everything in.
These are our tours we paid for.
The ones we got suckered in.
Yeah.
We'll call them the gin tours.
But they were well worth it. So, first thing in the morning, what is it, like 9 o'clock in the morning?
You're not a Scot if you don't do this.
We head to the Scottish Whiskey Experience with the 2-year-old.
Parents of the year.
Again.
Again. Actually, it gets better. We become better parents as the day goes on. At the end of the whiskey tour, there was one amazing thing. And it was the donation by a Brazilian who collected, I want to say every whiskey bottle ever made, but I'm not sure.
Thousands, at least.
But it was up to 3,000 to 4,000 bottles.
It almost made me want really bad to drink whiskey.
Alright, ending our tour of the Scottish Whiskey Experience, we decided just to head up the hill, pretty steep hill, to probably the most remarkable site of Scotland, or at least the easiest to see, which is Edinburgh Castle. Actually find out the historical story behind the Red Wedding. Only if you're a Game of Thrones fan.
I'm not. On the Old Town tour, you also get a really cool view of the Edinburgh Castle from below. So highly recommend getting the pictures from the castle because it looks really, really big.
So this is where our parenting gets even better. Moving on from Edinburgh Castle, we decided to follow advice of my mother, Kathy Groth. And I would say it was advice. Yeah, it was advice we did not need to heed.
So what did we do? We took a
2-year-old,
almost 2-year-old,
almost 2-year-old,
on the Dungeon of Edinburgh tour.
Now, to sum up the Dungeon of Edinburgh tour, if you know anything about the history of Edinburgh, and Scotland in general, it's a very bloody history. And this tour has all that blood and history compressed into a time clock of about, I think, a 2-hour experience.
It was long.
It was tattered.
Okay, so we walked down the stairs, okay? First off it says, stairs to scare. We should have known right away. Don't take a kid. But we walked down, and people are staring at us. And I'm like, okay, why do we look weird? Do we have a kid? What's the deal? So I asked the guy, I'm like, hey, we have a young kid. Is there any parts we should, be careful of or try to avoid? And he's like, oh no, I think it's just the loud noises. That's probably going to be the scariest. I'm like, oh no, he's good.
It wasn't the puppets, fake Halloween type tour that we thought we were going to get into, where we just walk around and see fake statues. It was a live reenactment of all these stories. And the first one that we go into
was the court session, and the guy was so loud, banging the gavel, and Isaiah was doing great, so I was like, okay, we're starting off good.
It was the ease into the blood and the gore. We found something out about Alicia we didn't know.
Sweaty Betty, baby.
Apparently, she decided to crash a royal party, got too tipsy, jumped on the table, and sang her mantra, "I'm Sweaty Betty."
Yeah. I got chosen. Of the
pour
two
this
people,
sugar on me.
Of the two people you get chosen to, I got chosen. The one with the kid is trying to keep him over here in the corner, like, don't look, don't listen. I get chosen to be Sweaty Betty.
We were pretty easy to spot. We were the parents in shame, hiding that we had a child. But overall, we recommend the tour.
If you don't have kids, for sure go, because it was great. We kept saying to ourselves, if we didn't have kids, this would be so fun to play off of other people.
Alright, after being Parents of the Year, we didn't want to stop there. So we decided to do one more tour. It was essentially Edinburgh at Night tour.
Yeah. Edinburgh Scotland. I had no clue how beautiful you would be. Honestly, this was more Aaron's trip because this is kind of his history thing. I was just tag along and I ended up loving it. So if Edinburgh is not on your list, you should put it on your list. Highly recommend it.
Began my trip, well, it began to be my trip for the history purposes, and it ended her trip.
To be one of my favorite cities we've been to so far. If you've been to Edinburgh and you've taken a tour, comment below which tour was your favorite one.